Take your CJ7 all the way to 11. Jeepin' with Cool Guy.
Okay, now that I've got it all fixed up and looking good, let's put it back together. I wanted to show you real quick the boot that I was talking about. So I've sandblasted everything and got it all cleaned up. And here's the boot. It's very thin, kind of flimsy almost. But these are those air vents that I was telling you about. Put the description or the link in the description so that you can find one of these easily enough. Because believe it or not, really not all that easy to find. There's not a whole lot of people that carry it, strangely. So you put this plate back on over the top of the boot, and you make sure that this hole lines up with this indentation that's down here. I guess that this is possibly a drain port, maybe? I don't know. But this basically indicates that this is, I think this is up. Here's the funny thing. I'm actually going to go back and watch the video of me taking this thing apart so that I know how to put it back together. So the way this works, plate goes over the top, the boot goes on first, plate goes over the top, indentation and the hole in this backing plate face down, pivot joint on this is up, facing up, and you want to make sure that however you wind up placing this on, the way that you can tell it's right is because there's these indentation grooves on here, and there's a hole on the side of the main holding plates to where you can stick the lock pin through. So as long as that fits on where the boot is, show you that real quick here. The boot's right there, and it goes right down the groove in these. And then, once you get these screwed on, I've replaced them with stainless steel washers, lock washers, and nuts. Then you take your pin, take your pivot arm, line it up with your piston coming out of your brake booster, and just slide it in through this hole. And then from there, you can put your cotter pin through, and that will at least hold it into place while you do everything else. There. We are now installed. So I'll crank these things down, get them all torqued up right. Have to check out the owner's manual to make sure I got it right. And then we'll put on the back, we'll put the master cylinder on the back. I wanted to show you real quick what I've actually done. I took everything apart, and the brake booster, I wasn't quite sure if there was anything plastic or rubber on the inside of it. I do know that there is a plastic boot that goes around the actual piston, the power piston. So as a result, I couldn't powder coat it. What I did instead was I did a really nice job of getting some self-etching primer, and then 4 or 5 coats of some really heavy-duty Krylon enamel. So that looks really good. Both of the support brackets have been powder coated and sandblasted. So has the main pivot arm and the piston lock bolts. These two, I've done I guess it's heat oil treated. It's kind of cool. It's something I'll show you guys here in another episode. But you basically heat up whatever it is, a piece of steel, to about 500 degrees, and then you dip it in used motor oil 4 or 5 times. Catches fire, and then you burn it off, and it leaves this great patina on there, and it becomes permanently waterproof. So it's a really neat way of preserving some of the bolts that you can't replace, or if you wanted to keep it as original as possible. So that's all been done, and this obviously has been replaced with stainless steel nuts and washers. So now we're going to put on the master cylinder. It's really simple. There is a piston pin that the pressure from the power booster goes into the master cylinder to provide that actual power brakes. And this is just a simple disc. I actually took this thing apart too. There's kind of like a copperized washer on the inside of it. Powder coated that. Yes, I know this is extreme, but I'm trying to make this thing a forever Jeep. And then I used some steel wool to clean this up. And then that just sits right in there. And you want to make sure that that little pin, or piston, whatever you want to call it, sits inside the disc that holds it on the inside of your power brake, or your power booster. And then this simply just goes right over the top. And then you just bolt that down. Could have gone stainless steel with these, but I kind of like the look of these washers, or the nuts, and I kind of wanted to keep them. So I used that oil and heat treatment. See how cool that is? Nice and black, and that's even after I've wiped it all the way down. I've tested this. I left one of these things in a vat of water for a week. Actually 8 days. And it came out like there was no water on it. It was really neat sheen. So you just place on these two nuts. These are 9/16. And there you have your power brake master assembly all put together. Yeah, awesome. Oh, let me keep elaborating on what else I've done. So your master cylinder doesn't have in it, when you take out the pistons in the master cylinder, there's a lock pin on the base part of your master cylinder that you need to take out. And then you can take out the two pistons. There's a piston here and a piston here for the two different chambers. Take those out, and then you can powder coat this thing, because there's nothing inside of this that's rubber. It's just all metal. And I got that all cleaned up, and it looks super snazzy. That's pretty cool.